Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. This morning we'll be in Leviticus chapter 27, verse 14, finishing that off, to Numbers 1, verse 54. If a man consecrates his house as holy to the Lord, the priest will establish its conversion value, whether good or bad, just as the priest establishes its conversion value. Thus it will stand. If the one who consecrates it redeems his house, he must add to it 1/5 of its conversion value in silver, and it will belong to him. If a man consecrates to the Lord some of his own landed property, the conversion value must be calculated in accordance with the amount of seed needed to sow it, a homer of barley seed being priced at 50 shekels of silver. If he consecrated his field in the Jubilee year, the conversion value will stand. But if he consecrates his field after the Jubilee, the priest will calculate the price for him according to the years that are left until the next Jubilee year, and it will be deducted from the conversion value. If, however, the one who consecrated the field redeems it, he must add to it 1/5 of the conversion price, and it will belong to him. If he does not redeem the field, but sells the field to someone else, he may never redeem it. When it reverts in the Jubilee, the field will be holy to the Lord, like a permanently dedicated field. It will become the priest's property. If he consecrates to the Lord a field he has purchased, which is not part of his own landed property, the priest will calculate for him the amount of its conversion value until the Jubilee year, and he must pay the conversion value on that Jubilee day as something that is holy to the Lord. In the Jubilee year, the field will return to the one from whom he bought it, the one to whom it belongs as landed property. Every conversion value must be calculated by the standard of the sanctuary shekel, 20 gerahs to the shekel. Surely no man may consecrate a firstborn that already belongs to the Lord. As a firstborn among the animals, whether it is an ox or a sheep, it belongs to the Lord. If, however, it is among the unclean animals, he may ransom it according to its conversion value, and must add 1/5 to it. But if it is not redeemed, it must be sold according to its conversion value. Surely anything with which a man permanently dedicates to the Lord from all that belongs to him, whether from people, animals, or his landed property, must be neither sold nor redeemed. Anything permanently dedicated is most holy to the Lord. Any human being who is permanently dedicated must not be ransomed. Such a person must be put to death. Any tithe of the land from the grain of the land, or from the fruit of the trees, belongs to the Lord. It is holy to the Lord. If a man redeems part of his tithe, however, he must add 1/5 to it. All the tithe of herd or flock, everything which passes under the rod, the 10th one, will be holy to the Lord. The owner must not examine the animals to distinguish between good and bad, and he must not exchange it. If, however, he does exchange it, both the original animal and its substitute will be holy. It must not be redeemed. These are the commandments which the Lord commanded Moses to tell the Israelites at Mount Sinai. Now the Lord spoke to Moses in the tent of meeting in the wilderness of Sinai on the first day of the second month of the second year after the Israelites departed from the land of Egypt. He said, "Take a census of the entire Israelite community by their clans and families, counting the name of every individual male. You and Aaron are to number all in Israel who can serve in the army, those who are 20 years old or older, by their divisions. And to help you there is to be a man from each tribe, each man the head of his family. Now these are the names of the men who are to help you. From Reuben, Elizur, son of Sheduer. From Simeon, Shelumiel, son of Zereshaddai. From Judah, Nashon, son of Amminadab. From Issachar, Nethanel, son of Zuar. From Zebulun, Eliab, son of Helon. From the sons of Joseph. From Ephraim, Elishama, son of Ammihud. From Manasseh, Gamaliel, son of Pedahazar. From Benjamin, Abidan, son of Gideoni. From Dan, Ahiezer, son of Ammishaddai. From Asher, Pagiel, son of Ochran. From Gad, Eliasaph, son of Deuel. From Naphtali, Ahira, son of Enan. These were the ones chosen from the community, leaders of their ancestral tribes. They were the heads of the thousands of Israel. So Moses and Aaron took these men, who had been mentioned specifically by name, and they assembled the entire community together on the first day of the second month. Then the people recorded their ancestry by their clans and families, and men who were 20 years or older, old or older, were listed by name individually, just as the Lord had commanded Moses, and so he numbered them in the wilderness of Sinai. And they were as follows: the descendants of Reuben, the firstborn son of Israel, according to the records of their clans and families, all the males 20 years old or older who could serve in the army, were listed by name individually. Those of them who were numbered from the tribe of Reuben were 46,500. From the descendants of Simeon, according to the records of their clans and families, all the males numbered of them 20 years old or older who could serve in the army were listed by name individually. Those of them who were numbered from the tribe of Simeon were 59,300. From the descendants of Gad, according to the records of their clans and families, all the males 20 years old or older who could serve in the army were listed by name. Those of them who were numbered from the tribe of Gad were 45,650. From the descendants of Judah, according to the records of their clans and families, all the males 20 years old or older who could serve in the army were listed by name. Those of them who were numbered from the tribe of Judah were 74,600. From the descendants of Issachar, according to the records of their clans and families, all the males 20 years old or older who could serve in the army were listed by name. Those of them who were numbered from the tribe of Issachar were 54,400. From the descendants of Zebulun, according to the records of their clans and families, all the males 20 years old or older who could serve in the army were listed by name. Those of them who were numbered from the tribe of Zebulun were 57,400. From the sons of Joseph, from the descendants of Ephraim, according to the records of their clans and families, all the males 20 years old or older who could serve in the army were listed by name. Those of them who were numbered from the tribe of Ephraim were 40,500. From the descendants of Manasseh, according to their records of their clans and families, all the males 20 years old or older who could serve in the army were listed by name. Those of them who were numbered from the tribe of Manasseh were 32,200. From the descendants of Benjamin, according to the records of their clans and families, all the males 20 years old or older who could serve in the army were listed by name. Those of them who were numbered from the tribe of Benjamin were 35,400. From the descendants of Dan, according to the records of their clans and families, all the males 20 years old or older who could serve in the army were listed by name. Oh man, losing my voice. Those of them who were numbered from the tribe of Dan, were we on? 62,700. From the descendants of Asher, according to the records of their clans and families, all the males 20 years old or older who could serve in the army were listed by name. Those of them who were numbered from the tribe of Asher were 41,500. From the descendants of Naphtali, according to the records of their clans and families, all the males 20 years old or older who could serve in the army were listed by name. Those of them who were numbered from the tribe of Naphtali were 53,400. These were the men whom Moses and Aaron numbered, along with the 12 leaders of Israel, each of whom was from his own family. All the Israelites who were 20 years old or older who could serve in Israel's army were numbered according to their families, and all those numbered totaled 603,550. But the Levites, according to the tribe of their fathers, were not numbered among them. The Lord had said to Moses, "Only the tribe of Levi you must not number or count with the other Israelites, but appoint the Levites over the tabernacle of the testimony, over all its furnishings, and over everything in it. They must carry the tabernacle and all its furnishings, and they must attend to it and camp around it. Whenever the tabernacle is to move, the Levites must take it down, and whenever the tabernacle is to be reassembled, the Levites must set it up. Any unauthorized person who approaches it must be killed. The Israelites will camp according to their divisions, each man in his camp, and each man by his standard. But the Levites must camp around the tabernacle of the testimony, so that the Lord's anger will not fall on the Israelite community. The Levites are responsible for the care of the tabernacle of the testimony." The Israelites did according to all the Lord commanded Moses. That is what they did. Okay. So, in Leviticus, you had the redemption of a house, I think, and several other things, like a field, and laws on how, if the field was sold and the guy redeems it, where does it go? And you can't vow a firstborn because it belongs to the Lord anyway, and things of that nature. But what's interesting to me was in Leviticus 27, 29. Any human being who is permanently dedicated must not be ransomed. Such a person must be put to death. Yeah, so if you were going to permanently devote yourself to God, you either had to do it or die, I guess, which is interesting. And Guzik says, in this sense, also, one could not escape execution by being bought back from the Lord. They had to face their fate or penalty. An example of this is found in 1 Samuel 15. Oh, interesting. This says, under the ban, no person under the ban who may become doomed to destruction among men shall be redeemed, but surely shall be put to death. One could not escape execution by being bought back from the Lord. They had to face their fate or penalty. An example of this is found in 1 Samuel 15, where King Saul was commanded to bring God's judgment against the Amalekites. They were devoted and doomed to destruction. Saul failed to do this and greatly displeased the Lord. The law mentioned in these two verses has been appealed to by the enemies of divine revelation as a proof that under the Mosaic dispensation, human sacrifices were offered to God, but this can never be conceded. Had there been such a law, it certainly would have been more explicitly revealed and not left in the compass of a few words only, where the meaning is very difficult to be ascertained, and the words themselves differently translated by most interpreters. Yeah. And I can also think of a few areas, well, Jericho in particular, when Joshua and company entered the Promised Land, is, quote, devoted to the ban. And that is, everything inside of it you can't touch. It has to be destroyed, essentially. And as such, it's an interesting, I guess, change of topic in the middle there. Because things which were... oh, yeah, we were talking about special votive offerings in 27 too. And I guess this moved on to something higher than that. Carrying on in Numbers, there were some interesting things. So Guzik made a lot of interesting points in Numbers regarding Israel, in that God doesn't just leave the Israelites to wander in the wilderness, but instead it seems to be something of a forge for reconstructing this people from a slave people who are living in Egypt into people that will inherit the Promised Land. And I think, like, you go by the end of Numbers, or the beginning of Joshua, that these people agree to follow the commands of God, essentially. Which is interesting because as they're going into the Promised Land for the first time, they disobey. But the book of Numbers covers the more than 38 years of Israelite history. As the tabernacle was erected upon the first day of the first month in the second year after their coming out of Egypt, in Exodus 40:17, this muster of the people was made on the first day of the second month in the same year. It is evident that the transactions related in the preceding book must all have taken place in the space of 1 month, and during the time the Israelites were encamped at Mount Sinai, before they had begun their journey to the Promised Land. So, Numbers covers a wide span of history here. And also the census that's being taken is being taken of men 20 years old and upward, all those who are suitable for participating in a war, thus making it clear what the intentions were, that they were mustering for war, essentially, to enter the Promised Land. Each one was numbered individually, which I think is interesting because you had everybody's name written in these records individually. Also, the names of these people who were leaders of the tribes, I guess overseers for counting their individual tribes, all had interesting names, like Elazar, God is a rock; Shelemiel, my peace is God; Nashon, people are noble; my people are noble; Nethanel, gift of God; Eliab, God is father; Elishama, God hears; Gamaliel, reward of God; Abidan, father is judge; my father is judge; Ahiezer, my brother is a helper; Pagiel, met by God; Eliasaph, my God has added, multiplied; and Ahira, my brother is evil. That's last one is interesting to me. I wonder if that's some sort of mention of like the slave masters in Egypt, or just a general commentary on the cultures at the time. Yeah, there's also like debate about the accuracy of the numbers being put forward, because if one estimates that this count of the men for war represents 70% of the total male population, adds an equal number of females, and then adds another 25% for children, the total population of Israel would be between 2 million and 2.5 million. And people scratch their heads over this tremendous number of people, not only how this group survived in the wilderness, but also how over the course of 200 years in Egypt this group came to be that size. But God's hand of blessing and sustaining was on this people. So that's got to count for something. Carrying on, Mark chapter 11, verses 1 through 26. Now, as they approached Jerusalem, near Bethphage and Bethany at the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent two of his disciples, and said to them, "Go to the village ahead of you. As soon as you enter it, you will find a colt tied there that has never been ridden. Untie it and bring it here. If anyone says to you, 'Why are you doing this?' say, 'The Lord needs it, and will send it back here soon.'" So they went and found a colt tied at a door outside in the street, and untied it. Some people standing there said to them, "What are you doing untying that colt?" They replied as Jesus had told them, and the bystanders let them go. Then they brought the colt to Jesus, threw their cloaks on it, and he sat on it. Many spread their cloaks on the road, and others spread branches they had cut in the fields. Both those who went ahead and those who followed kept shouting, "Hosanna! Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the coming kingdom of our father David. Hosanna in the highest." Then Jesus entered Jerusalem and went to the temple, and after looking around at everything, he went out to Bethany with the 12, since it was already late. Now the next day, as they went out from Bethany, he was hungry. After noticing in the distance a fig tree with leaves, he went to see if he could find any fruit on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. He said to it, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And his disciples heard it. Then they came to Jerusalem. Jesus entered the temple area and began to drive out those who were selling and buying in the temple courts. He turned over the tables of the money changers and the chairs of those selling doves, and he would not permit anyone to carry merchandise through the temple courts. Then he began to teach them and said, "Is it not written, 'My house will be called a house of prayer for all nations'? But you have turned it into a den of robbers." The chief priests and the experts in the law heard it, and they considered how they could assassinate him, for they feared him, because the whole crowd was amazed by his teaching. When evening came, Jesus and his disciples went out of the city. In the morning, as they passed by, they saw the fig tree withered from the roots. Peter remembered and said to him, "Rabbi, look, the fig tree you cursed has withered." Jesus said to them, "Have faith in God. I tell you the truth, if someone says to this mountain, 'Be lifted up and thrown into the sea,' and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will happen, it will be done for him. For this reason I tell you, whatever you pray and ask for, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Whenever you stand praying, if you have anything against anyone, forgive him, so that your Father in heaven will also forgive your sins." Yeah. Just wanted to bring up briefly here the fig tree here. So notice what this narrative of the fig tree is couched in between. Um, so Jesus is entering into Jerusalem, or yeah, I guess. Yeah, Jerusalem. And he went to the temple, and he looked around at everything, and then he went out of it. So he's scouting around initially, seeing what it looks like, and judging to see if it has any fruit, I guess. And then you have a fig tree, he noticed, but it only had leaves and not any fruit. And so there was a curse pronounced on it, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And then you have the next day Jesus entering the temple area and driving out those who were selling and buying in the temple courts. And likewise, in Mark 11:20, they saw the fig tree withered from the roots. "Rabbi, look, the fig tree you cursed has withered." So you have this evaluation of the fig tree juxtaposed with the evaluation of the temple in Jerusalem, and I guess also what they were doing inside the temple, which was buying and selling and not operating according to Levitical standards, for sure. So yeah. Jesus looked and found them wanting. Carrying on, Psalm 46, verses 1 through 11. God is our strong refuge. He is truly our helper in times of trouble. For this reason we do not fear when the earth shakes, and the mountains tumble into the depths of the sea, when its waves crash and foam, and the mountains shake before the surging sea. Selah. The river's channels bring joy to the city of God, the special holy dwelling place of the Sovereign One. God lives within it. It cannot be moved. God rescues it at the break of dawn. Nations are in an uproar. Kingdoms are overthrown. God gives a shout. The earth dissolves. The Lord who commands armies is on our side. The God of Jacob is our protector. Selah. Come, witness the exploits of the Lord, who brings devastation to the earth. He brings an end to wars throughout the earth. He shatters the bow and breaks the spear. He burns the shields with fire. He says, "Stop your striving, and recognize that I am God. I will be exalted over the nations. I will be exalted over the earth. The Lord who commands armies is on our side. The God of Jacob is our protector." Selah. Yeah, I think the wording being used here is for the Lord who commands armies. It's Yahweh Sabaoth, which is interesting because you have like in Numbers the numbering of the armies there. But carrying on, Proverbs chapter 10, verse 23. Carrying out a wicked scheme is enjoyable to a fool, and so is wisdom for the one who has discernment. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you have a great day.